guys, so it's Erica Jung here, and congratulations, you made it through part 1 of our Headstand Like a Pro practices, and hopefully at this point you guys are feeling a little bit more confident and have some great tips with your headstand to be able to improve it and get a little bit more confident with it. So let's continue. We left off with having the basic shape of the tripod and working on getting our knees into the backs of the arms. So let's just do a quick review. When in child's pose, right, start to find your alignment here for the triangle. Really important to have a really solid foundation. So you can start with child's pose. It might look like this. It might be a little bit more forward, and about halfway from the forehead towards the knees is where you're going to place your hands just a hair inside of shoulder distance here, right? Then all we're going to do is roll ourselves right up onto the crown of the head. I've made my bun at the back of my head. Ladies, we have this issue all the time, right? And you're starting to press the floor away as well as hug your inner arms in and draw the shoulders away from the floor here. From there, tuck your toes, lift your hips towards the sky. So you're just thinking about lifting your bum straight up, tight hamstrings, move your feet out wide. Just check your placement, right? Squeeze in, it should feel very steady. It should feel nice and secure as well, right? So you're pushing the floor and just getting some of the weight off the top of your head. Walk one knee in, then walk the other knee in, and hang out here. Good. Now, we did that a little bit. What's the next step? So my suggestion is if you have a wall, it's really helpful to be close to the wall. We don't want to really actually practice this too far away from the wall because the danger that happens that I've seen is actually when you're a little bit too far away from the wall, and in the incident that you do roll backwards, you kind of like fall in this weird gray space between the wall and the floor, and it's all twisted. It's really not good. So allow yourself to get like right up against the wall. And what do I mean by that? If you were to set up with the wall here, okay, it's hard to see from my angle. I'm going to just make sure that there is no more than about a foot gap, right? So just in case, if my butt does go back, I'm not going to go that much further past being balanced, okay? If you have somebody spotting you, you want them to stand directly behind your hips, okay? And just have their hands slightly on the outside of your hips, right? Not grabbing at your legs or anything, which shouldn't be up at this point, but mimicking a wall pretty much. So you can't really go anywhere, you can't fall, you can't freak yourself out. Okay, so now we're getting the knees in the back of the arms, and this is where we get a little bit disoriented or people get really, really nervous. So it's important to remember, stay breathing really evenly and steadily. Like if you feel your mind freaking out, go right back to your breath. Just literally think, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. Most of us have done headstands as a kid all the time. So the memory is in there, we just have to access it again. Once we get our brain out of the way, the headstand will come much easier because our body will actually know what to do. It's just that the mind really clouds it, okay? So we're getting our knees to the backs of the arms, and then the next thing. So a lot of times when I see people get to this spot, right? There comes the panic. The eyeballs are freaking out and everything. And then they just kind of try to do the one like where you throw your legs towards headstand and like with the hope and prayer that it sticks. Totally get rid of that in your practice. This might be a little bit more challenging to do it this way, but your headstand is going to be a lot more stable. It's going to be a lot more secure. It's going to be a lot safer, okay? It just takes practice. So omit the idea of throwing your feet towards directions because you'll never be able to catch it, okay? We're building our control through the pelvis. And we're starting to learn like where that is. The pelvis begins as the center of balance here, okay? So once I set myself up and I roll up onto the crown of my head, right? I'm just gonna bring my knees into the backs of the arms, okay? Notice how I'm really fanning my toes so I have the control of my legs here, as well as hugging my heels towards my butt. What that prevents is for me to do one of the kick things where you can see where I pull my pelvis back, and that actually puts me more in the danger of toppling over, okay? So I'm pulling my heels towards my butt, and I'm squeezing my inner thighs, believe it, a little bit towards one another to start to find this lift of the low belly to get my knees away from the backs of my arms. And that's what I want you to do. Squeeze in
and zip up your low belly and your pelvis. Not your feet, but your pelvis. So try to keep this like tight little cannonball and do little reverse headstand push-ups, kind of. Okay? That's the next step. So try to do 1, 3, 5, 8, hold and hover. Okay? Next step. Make sure you give yourself adequate rest afterwards. Okay? You don't want to do these when you get too tired. So you set it up, lift up, knees in the backs of the arms. Now, okay, this is a little bit more comfortable for you. Practice pulling your knees in and hugging the heels towards the butt, and think about your tailbone rather than your feet. The feet are easy to pull, right? It does one of these guys here, whoop. But if I keep my little cannonball, I'm gonna zip up my tailbone towards the sky. Now I'm squeezing my legs in, and on a nice big inhale, maybe I start to take one leg straight up. Picturing that there's a midline and I'm keeping my inner thigh and leg zipped into it, right? So it doesn't start going blah, 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 blah. Okay? I'm gonna slowly bring that down. And take the other leg up. Bring it down. And roll everything down gently. Child's pose. Okay? It's really important to start to hold these poses a little bit longer. And that's why having a wall for some of these practices might be really helpful, because you don't have to worry so much about the balancing or have fear as much about tipping over, but it's just important to do these away from the wall as well. Otherwise, this becomes your training wheels or your clutch or your binky that you never let go of, okay? So once you can hold maybe 3 breaths or 5 breaths for alternate legs, okay, it's time to take both legs up. So it's really not that much different, and your legs actually have to do a lot more work than you realize. So what's actually happening when I'm upside down is that I'm pressing really strongly with my arms down, as well as drawing them in and keeping the chest nice and open, okay? My low belly and my stomach are lifting my pelvis up so they stay stacked above the shoulders. And then my thighs are really actively squeezing in and pressing up. So I always use the imagery that there's like a little elf from the ceiling and he's grabbing my feet and lifting me up. So that's the motion or the direction of weight that I'd like for you to think of. Think about pushing the floor away rather than having to lift yourself up. Psychologically, it's going to feel a lot lighter and easier in many ways, right? So little elf on the ceiling, whoosh, lifting your legs and squeezing them together so you have the strength of your legs and keeping everything towards the midline, okay? So what it'll look like is a little bit like this. Whoosh. Pop it up, squeeze it in, start to inhale, stretch up, stretch up, stretch up, stretch up, stretch up. See how the toes are fanned? It keeps control. I'm gonna hang out here. Okay, and work on my balance. Now where my eyes are approximately towards the edge of the mat. Okay, too far is a little dizzying, too close makes me cross-eyed. Okay, let me see if I can just find the steadiness. I've got a light firmness in the neck, but it's not straining. And my arms, really, a lot of the effort is actually coming from squeezing in towards the midline to keep me steady. Okay, ready to come down. Exhale, press the hips back a little bit, pull the knees towards the belly. Nice control, resisting the earth. Child's pose. Good. Not so bad, okay? Then, once you get confident with that, and you start practicing it away from the wall, and that gets more comfortable, that's when you can start to really get a little bit funky and playing. If you want to challenge yourself further, you start to move the hands a little bit more isometrically. So don't make them so perfect. Make one a little bit in front of the other, or take them a little bit wider than what you're used to, and then it'll start to train the muscles to have to respond differently. And when that starts to happen, you actually start to build even deeper of a connection towards your midline, because you have to work differently to find that. So it's just like a
approaching a puzzle from different angles to start to really strengthen where that center is, and then you can be able to find that center very easily in an array of different poses, right? So if I wanted to start to challenge myself a little bit more, let's see if I go this way for you guys, okay? So shoulder distance would be a little bit more this way, move to the floor. I'm just gonna make my hand a little bit wider, right? Same principle, squeezing in, 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 right? Start to play with flipping. Could start to take the legs out wider, right? But I'm all in the same center, right? And I'm lifting the shoulders, I'm keeping the chest broad, but everything's just really the same. I just know where it is. Usually I'm not talking during it. And then just, this comes from practice, awareness, and being able to breathe. Breathe and keep the mind calm when you're doing this. So have fun with it. Play with all those key foundational principles and let me know how it is. Share it, like it, comment. See you guys next time.